It's been winter weather folklore forecasting passed down from generation to generation to generation. And today, we're going to explore some of those. I'm Bryan Barrett from News Radio WGNS. You know, winter weather in Tennessee can be very unpredictable. So here's the forecast. 2 to 4 inches of snow. We've got a cold front coming in. This cold front is going to bring cold temperatures, but it's warm in front of that. Well, it's always that classic cold chasing front. So the cold front sweeps in, brings the cold air, but the cold air kind of lags behind a little bit. So in that situation, we're supposed to get 2 to 4 inches of snow. That's the forecast. Well, what in reality happens, that cold air hangs back just a little bit. I'm talking in an hour. What happens? 2 to 4 inches becomes a dusting. And we're thinking, my goodness, the meteorologist just really blew this. When in fact, it stayed 1 degree warmer for 1 hour. That's how finicky Mother Nature can be. In the fall, the leaves change. The squirrels gather their nuts. The birds fly to the south. All of these things are signs of winter. But did you know, if you dig just a little deeper, that's this folklore forecasting we're talking about, there are some signs that can tell us how harsh the winter might be. We're going to take a look at this folklore forecasting in today's video. But when our great-great-great-great-grandparents were here, they didn't have a weather app to look at to say, hey, weather app, what's the temperature outside, to know whether to put on an extra layer or to wear a raincoat. They didn't know what the winter could be to know how much extra feed that they needed for the animals and such, you know. So they had to look for signs in nature. So how did our ancestors look at the seasons of change, look at the fall to predict the winter? So we're going to look at some of those today. Dwayne Trail, retired UTTSU extension leader, used to be on WGNS and did a folklore weather forecast. And I can always remember him bringing up the woolly worm forecast. Yeah, I'd always take a look at the woolly worms, also known as woolly bears or woolly bear caterpillars. Check out this Old Farmer's Almanac video about how these creatures can maybe be an indicator of the winter ahead.
Around this time every year, folks spot the woolly bear caterpillar, also known as the woolly worm, crossing a roadway or relaxing on a leaf. Legend has it that the width of the woolly worm's brown band predicts the weather for the coming winter. A narrow band indicates a stormy, icy, cold winter, while a wide brown band indicates a mild winter.
Another folklore winter predictor that I've always grown up knowing here in Rutherford County is the persimmon seeds and what they look like inside. So these persimmon seeds, well, the persimmon grows on a persimmon tree and the seeds are inside the fruit. Here's what the persimmon looks like. You can pick them off the tree or from the ground. They're about the size of a tomato tomato or maybe 2 cherry tomatoes together. Once you cut the flesh off the persimmon, it reveals the seeds. Now, it's not the first time that I've seen a persimmon or its seeds and what they look like once you clean the fruit away, but this is the first time cutting the seeds. And let me tell you, it's not as easy as it looks. They're really hard. Folklore forecasting says that when you cut open the seeds, you can tell by the shape inside what kind of winter you'll have. If the kernel is a fork shape, expect a mild winter with snow being powdery and white. If it's a knife shape, expect frigid cutting winds. And if you cut into a persimmon seed and see a spoon shape, expect plenty of shoveling snow. Well, as you can see from the sampling from the persimmons here in Rutherford County that I split, mostly spoons and just a few knives or two. That would indicate a snowy winter with frigid temperatures. And by the way, that's exactly what the Old Farmer's Almanac predicted for our area. What are some other winter weather folklore indicators that you can look for? Well, if you see a large number of acorns under a tree, that could mean a rough winter ahead. Also, a large crop of walnuts could indicate a snowy season. Also, the skins and husk on several fruits Well, let's take fruits and vegetables, and maybe even animals. Well, that could be an indicator of a rough winter. So, onions, if the husk on onions, or the skins on onions, if you will, are tough. Apples, or the husk on corn, if they're tough, you can expect a tough winter. The animals, well, if squirrels have a very bushy tail and a thick coat, beavers even, a heavier coat, that could mean an indicator of a tough winter with cold temperatures. Now, does this mean that we will certainly have a brutally cold winter with 20 inches of snow? Probably not. Actually, likely not. But it is kind of fun to look at nature and see what it could be telling us about the winter ahead. I'm Bryan Barrett reporting for News Radio, WGNS, and Big G TV.